Good morning, everyone. So it's my pleasure to welcome Matthew Jose, who is an American poet and social media personality who is spreading his love for the underground grit of life with a blend of the serious commentary and necessary humor we all need to stay balanced in an unbalanced world. And boy, is it unbalanced. Today, Matt is reading from Double Trouble 3, the third in a series of collaborative works by Matthew and Candice James. And here I will do a brief description of these two characters. Jose and James are a rough and tumble, sensitive, collaborative team living off planet. They are seekers and gatherers of obscure thoughts and bizarre moments in the quantum boiling pot of timeless time. When they are not writing poetry, their hobby is chasing nuclear butterflies with their collapsible net of poetry as they time travel through their airstream of ink and words, polishing their poems to a superfine gloss and shine. If you listen closely and watch, you may be able to see them flashing in and out of time on retrograde moon rotational nights. Maybe, maybe not. Take it away, Matt.
Thanks so much for having me. I'm so happy to be back on Earth. It's been a little while, so this is always fun to take this form. Candice couldn't be here today. She's taking care of a number of things on our home planet, but yeah, I'm very excited to be with you. This is great.
And we're happy to have you back on Earth too, Matthew.
Well, thank you. Yeah, so as you said, I'm going to be reading from Double Trouble Volume 3, POEMETRICS. It's a 5-volume series so far. Volumes 1, 2, and 3 have been released, 4 and 5 soon to come. I'll read a few of the poems from this one, and then if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer. All right, let's start with one called Marvelous Fulfillments. It's a marvelous fulfillment when I have the occasional original thought. When it happens, it feels like someone is slamming a tin hat right on top of my head. But I wasn't looking and I didn't see it coming, but always in a good way. All sorts of people starve to death or go crazy in search of original thoughts. And I'm not claiming to have had many, but I've definitely had more than my share. The crazy part is they come more often and with a gusto when I'm dead broke in pocket, heart, and soul. And I've been dead broke so many times it kind of feels unnatural when I'm not. It seems to me that so much of this life is affected by expectations great and small. And that makes me think of Dickens. What the Dickens did he know anyways? Original thoughts, that's what he knew, and he knew them well. It's a marvelous fulfillment when the system tries to test the courage of a weak body and you weather through it still and you take that win. There was a soundtrack to such a moment. It might sound like the repeating melancholy notes of a piano or the sound of a phone ringing too often after years of not ringing at all. Either way, that's how I know when I'm on my game, when they test me at my weakest point and I don't fold. Sometimes a quick glance does the trick, so if you see me and I'm smiling, but it's the left side of my mouth that's raised, then you'll know that I've lost my ace in the hole. My face will look like the hot steam rising from the coffee truck on that morning when you really need a Java jolt to survive and get through. Or it will look like I'm all full up of eggs, T-bone steaks, and beer, and you'll know I didn't fold. Oh, and one last point. Just know I will never beg for mercy. I've never understood that part of the thing. And that not understanding it is a marvelous fulfillment in and of itself. That one was Marvelous Fulfillments. Let's see what we got next. In no particular order. My process for picking poems for a reading is I will have my 7-year-old daughter flip through the book and I say, stop. And then that's where we put the mark. So I can't say there's any rhyme nor reason, as is often the case in life, in my opinion. All right. This one is called Watered Down Drinks. And sadly, I've been served too many of those in my time. All right. Watered down drinks. Pardon me, but you're sitting in my seat. I threw Earth time into Evidarian suspension. I've been gone 2 light years, just an eye blink to you, and I'm not sure what's happening right now. But I know this is my seat. I was gone for a second. I just wanted to see if that bearded guy over there, due double north from where I'm sitting, at the other side of the long neck bar, is really sitting with his back to the wall also. I amble on over and take a peek. Sure enough, he is. I like that. Already I respect him. And now the pondering begins. I wonder what genetic interdimensional idiosyncrasy makes us both orient ourselves in the same way. I had asked around about him. I was curious yellow. Rather strange since I was wearing black, green, red, and blue. After many mini interviews, the main takeaway was this. A lot of people said they thought his seating choices were the most admirable thing about him. Struck me as very odd. Cat had my tongue, so I shuffled off due double south from whence I came. I got back to earth. Back at my table, the waitress returns with our drinks. She carries them as if they are unreal, blurry notions that got carried away in her mind and carried over somehow into my realm of existence. Then suddenly, just like that, I think back to my kindred, back-to-the-wall seat patron. It seemed like he had his own henchmen, one on either side of him. Maybe they were from Evidaris too, incognito. I like that in a certain trenchman way. Okay, enough about that patron. Back to the drinks. Turns out the bartender is a low-down, dirty rat and a goddamn crook too. Pardon my cagney. How can a drink taste watered down when you ordered a double? Just as I'm about to beckon the manager for a Howard Stern Hollywood word or two about the help, I see stumbling into the place some classic movie escapees, a bunch of 18th century cowboy intellectuals. They meander down all the way to the dark end of the time-warped bar. It's one of those mahogany gold moments. Where did that movement even originate? Not the movement to the dark end of the bar. I mean the 18th century cowboy intellectual movement. Was it an Enlightenment thing? Was it just my imagination? Or holy faulty water taps, Batman? Was it those dastardly watered down drinks? It could have been. You got to watch out for those drinks. I'm telling you. I'm telling you. All right, where the book stops, nobody knows. This one is called Not Sorry. Now, I fancy myself someone who doesn't feel the need to apologize, yet I've apologized more than anybody else I know. The paradoxes of life and the irony are really what keep me going. Anyhow, this one's called Not Sorry. Somebody asked me once to describe the places we do our research as writers, as poets, as artists. I told them that it's not really about research. It's more like being alive and needing to write. But I meant like really needing to write. As in there's no other option other than the rope, the pills, the bridge, the gun, the knife. I would apologize for the morose turn we took right there if I were sorry. But you already probably figured out I'm not. Why does the topic of suicide make so many people uncomfortable? Well, some people, that is, not all. Some look at death as being as natural as living. And I'm not trying to glorify the act. I'm just saying that it shouldn't be the pariah conversation it's made out to be. But enough about that. Back to the life of a writer. Sounds wonderfully romantic and pretentious, right? And yes, it's both. But again, you won't get any apologies from me. Maybe that's what it means to be an artist, a poet, or a writer. Not offering so many goddamn apologies to the world. Just like how I'm not going to apologize for the pint glasses of limoncello I had for breakfast this morning. Or the fact that it was paired with a bowl of cottage cheese and a cucumber and dill with a Rudy Tooty pill. Or the fact that I spend most of my time flipping the pages of books with words written by women and men long dead now. Maybe some future generation may flip through these here pages and read words written by us after we're all long dead and gone. It's all just a game, a holographic chess game, my friends, and it's how you play it that matters in the end. We are the poets living here and now, the sons and daughters born of diving inspiration. We are Monopoly graduates and Risk undergraduates with a real flair for Scrabble and Sudoku. We are the card sharks and the word magicians. We are the sorry playsters who have the game pegged. We are the justifiers. We are the sorry masters, and being sorry masters means never having to say sorry. And we're not sorry. Yes. Oh, I do like that one. Oh, this one.
Matt.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm just going to ask a couple of questions now, if that's
Sure.
okay with you.
I
And
love
then,
questions.
yeah, and then you can read a few more
Yeah.
poems. Good.
I'd
Okay.
love to, yeah.
So I've read that you're a media social person or a social media personality, a media social personality. Anyway, one of those things. So I'm curious about that. Tell me about that part of your life.
So an old guy like me trying to keep up with the young hipsters, I guess. I've been in the entertainment industry literally decades now, 3 decades. And I'm just kind of trying to keep up with the pace. A lot of people right now put their content on YouTube and videos and whatnot. So right now I have a show where that's where I'm releasing my content. I actually have a few shows. But for me, I always have this underlying and I know there's a lot of people like me. I'm not trying to say I'm special, but I have this underlying creative fire that if I don't do something with, my train comes right off the tracks, and I learned that early in life. So I'm happy to say I've been a lot of things within the creative realm. I've been a TV producer, on-air talent, writer. I've been a male model, and I'm not ashamed to admit that, maybe a little bit. I've been a professional celebrity impersonator lookalike. Now, this is a true story. For 3 years, I got to travel the world. Well, Canada's the only place outside of the US. Does that count as traveling the world? But I did get to travel all over the States. Would you want to guess which celebrity I was a lookalike for? It may not come to you right away.
Oh, nice.
It was Johnny Depp, but this was.
I was just going to say that. You took the words right out of my mouth. All right, go for it.
A little more in his prime, but basically I would be hired to show up in character as the pirate from the Pirates of the Caribbean, Jack Sparrow, or Johnny Depp himself. And it was at functions like openings for movies and hotels and really high-end company parties. Anyhow, so I did that for a while. And then I caught the writing bug. Oh, I caught the writing bug. Now, I'd always been an avid, ferocious reader. Absolutely. But I decided to start putting down the really crazy thoughts that I had throughout the day on paper. And then I'm just really, really, really lucky and blessed that me and Candice James crossed paths. So yeah, that's how we got to the point of writing. And then right now the content on YouTube is really fun. One is just like a diatribe of life, and another one is a little bit more structured show. But yeah, that's where I'm at right now. I don't know where the creative train's gonna take me next, but I promise I'd be on board. That's for sure.
Wonderful. That's a great answer. Thank you so much. I feel like I know so much more about you. And also, I will mention at this point that Candice James is your co-author, but she's also the owner of Silver Bow Publishing here in New Westminster, British Columbia.
I claim complete allegiance to Silver Bow. I've been approached by other publishers a number of times, and I've turned them down because Candice is the one who took a chance on me, the first one who maybe spotted something in my words. So for that, I'm a real loyal type. So I don't plan on ever publishing anywhere else. We'll see.
All right. Okay. So a few more poems, and then maybe I'll ask a question at the end.
Let's see what we got here. Let's go with Some Ancient Fellow, which is how I feel sometimes. All right. Some Ancient Fellow. Exaggerated forms of the thinnest of lines, and appearing everywhere to me these days. I've spent eons trying to clean up my problem life, but that's where I have to pose the question. Was it the problem singular or the problems plural? You can't repair a faulty circuit in the dark, and you can't play hockey in a field of wild horses. And I can't fix my problem if I don't know what my problem or problems are, or even if I have any. The sages say you can't command a genius response if you don't ask a genius question. And you can't force a passionate kiss. It has to be completely spontaneous to be real. I say you can't build a birdhouse inside a tire, and you can't ride a bicycle with broken wheels, and you can't make a T-bone out of hamburger, and you can't make me believe I have a problem when I don't. Sometimes I do resort to desperate and dangerous methods, hoping for fixed answers to flexible questions. Here are some atypical examples. Commander Whitebeard has a beard. Why does he have no face? Fred Astaire was a great dancer. Why did he have no legs? The United States president was born in the year 2099. Why is he dead when the world is alive? And it just goes on and on and on and on like a never-ending, nonsensical rubber soul song. The questions present themselves all in the plural. The flexible answers are caged in the singular. And I think it was all invented by the moronic sidekick of some ancient fellow with dementia. Yeah, we all got problems, right? But what I found is a lot of my problems I've created in my own head, and they're not really there. I don't know about anybody else who's ever wasted time worrying about something that never ended up coming to pass, but humans will be humans, huh? All right, this one's called The Title. No, seriously, that's the title. All right, title. It always starts with a title. Sometimes it's just a placeholder word or phrase. Sometimes I sit totally blank, so I just type title at the top of a page or a computer screen. Sometimes it's the only way I can get the thing going. I've tried other ways and methods. No joy, no luck. It's so bizarre, like a Masery Dotes or Dozery Dotes kind of mixed up surreal moment that equals nada. The engine won't rev until there's that pesky placeholder just sitting up there all high and mighty at the top of the page. So just know and understand that's how this one got started. That's enough misdirected attention for right now. And more of this bluster, any more of this bluster, and I'm risking leaving no time for the building up of the thing that I want to build. This is making me think of Steve Richmond and his Gagaku poetry. He attempted to live by a rule of methods and no methods simultaneously. That's my take on it, at least. When I first heard of Gagaku poetry, I thought it might be haiku poetry that you puke on. Zen avatars that seemed like centuries of meditation. I realized somebody should start a new kind of short, slap my face twice to wake me up poetry. And then I thought, well, why not me? I think I'll call it poetry or haipuki. The only saving grace haiku has is that it has no titles. I have so much to say that to try to say it in 17 syllables is rough. Hell, 700 syllables many times isn't enough for me to be able to say what I want to say in a poem. Life is a complex arrangement of simplicities, a paradox for the mind frame to cozy on up to. Maybe it's too fundamental to give titles after all. A certain preordained amount is sufficient to manage, but the excess is what burdens a man. I wonder if Hank would care about any of this. That's a question we'll never know the answer to. He's a long gone lonesome daddy now. It waxes blurred poetics that's so much that we long to know, we will never be able to know. There's only one thing we can know for certain. And old Hank nailed it real good when he sang, I'll never get out of this world alive. So now I take off my poet's hat and I put on my pastor's collar and robe. I hold my latest poetry book high and say, amen to that, brothers and sisters. Just plain and simple, amen to that. Bless you all and thanks for listening. Y'all come back now, you hear? I'm going to do this last one. We'll do a little flop. Who knows where it's going to end? So you tell me to stop when you're feeling it. All right, we're stopping here. This one is called Long Before, Long After. Let's see what it holds. Singing in the bathtub on a foggy Wednesday evening, and it feels right. Yeah, the feeling's tight. There's a resonance to the sound here. Too bad there wasn't a tape recorder in here with me right now. Everything seems to be coming back at me in like an echo, a natural porcelain reverb, a natural high, no lie. Almost like the opening and closing of an infant's hands, but really loud like a metal diaper dropping on a tin scale. Suddenly I start thinking about how mountains can't be created with words, but only by the word. Like poems, short stories, novels, and ecstatic love letters, these are the places that we can begin to feel rapturously, shall we say. But long before they were put into words, mountains were rising from the ocean floors and piercing the water's surface on their journey skyward. Long before words. I'm talking about a time when things were just known, the times of pure chlorophyll and wild pterodactyl, the times of wet afternoons and drought-riddled dust bowls. These are the things that can't be described in words. They have to be described in vision or touch or smell. They are ever-changing and with us always. And when you try to tell people this, some will say you're insane, and some will say congratulations, as if you've unlocked some great mystery. But the mystery is as the mystery does, a master of sleuth and disguise. It's impossible for us to track its path or its essence back to the beginning or on to the end. It was all there long before words, and it will still be there long after these words are gone. That's for sure. Thanks for taking the time to listen. I love to talk, so it's always good to have ears on the other end.
That was wonderful. Thank you so much. So I have one more question for you, and then do you think you could finish with one more poem? I know you threw that book away, but you can pick it up.
Yeah, but I have a whole stack of them.
Oh, good.
I have author's copies, yeah.
Okay, that's great. So I'm curious about what drew you to poetry in the first place?
Two words.
Okay.
Charles Bukowski.
Oh.
So I was a Bukowski nut. And for anybody who doesn't know, he's a poet, novelist, general wild man. There's actually a really good documentary about him that came out a decade or so ago, really good, Born Into This. But anyhow, I was a Bukowski nut way back when I was a youngster. I just loved how it was so far out. And I had grown up with an aunt who read poetry. That sounds so odd, but she read poetry to me anyways. But it was that flowery, it was that feel good, it was that nature, it was that natural, and there's nothing wrong with that. Look, there's a time and a place for everything, but it never resonated with me. So when I finally found a writer who was writing poetry and I connected with it, I said, oh, poetry doesn't have to fit in one box. And I'm just glad that I learned that really young. So what happened is, once the technology caught up with my brain, I was able to Google, people like Bukowski, and then suddenly names like Al Purdy start jumping off. He's one of Canada's finest. And there's just a list that goes on. And it was this rabbit hole that I was so fortunate to dive into. So that's what drew me to it, was the idea when I found out that poetry can be nonsensical, it can be mundane, it can be beautiful, it can be whimsical, it can be all those things in one. And I said, you know what? I want to put some of my words down and just see what happens. So like I said earlier, I started jotting these notions, these things that would come to me in my brain or that I would hear or see throughout the day. And then I learned out about something, this style called cut-up writing, cut-up poetry. This is a real thing. And I actually would cut out each individual thought or whatever and put it on the ground all over. I must have looked like a maniac. I'm so glad there's no film or photos of this. I would look like that crazy person with the conspiracy theory. But anyways, then I would go through and I would piece them together into a story that made sense in my mind. So the thoughts themselves had no connection until I connected them. So that's how I first started writing poetry. And it's just evolved from there to different styles. But I always tell people, now I always talk to kids at readings and I say, look, you got to know that writing, there's no box. You could write how you want, when you want, whatever topic, style. I really don't like when people tell would-be writers that there's a certain form that they have to subscribe to, because I think it dulls a lot of people. And those are words and works that we may never hear because of that. So yeah, I think everybody, I just don't think there's a right or wrong way to do it. So I'll get off my soapbox now.
No, I agree with you. I think that, what's brilliant about poetry is that each person brings who they are to the work. Yes. If they're allowed to, right?
Right,
so,
right.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So thank you so much. So let's end with one more poem.
With one more. Let's see what we got here. I guess we might as well end with the final poem in the volume, since this is the end of our reading. All right. It's called, I didn't practice this one, so if I stumble, forgive me. Sorry. Not sorry. All right. This one's called What Then? There are definite shapes and forms, like whirlpools in water, eddies in streams, or a beatnik on the edge of a riverbank. Who would have thought that a beatnik would be wasting the day on a riverbank? Not I, not the whirlpools of the water. And the sun keeps waxing hotter and hotter. On this day, I've gathered all the cosmic rays in sight, hoping to find the vantage points that underlie the hints of common sense scenarios from other galaxies, whether intellectual or psychological or spiritual or physical. And what, if anything, does that mean? Would it be disappointing if I said that it means nothing? And everything? What if it meant nothing and everything all at once? You can't separate the unity of the oneness. I'm getting a headache and a throat crave, so let's not talk about this anymore right now. Otherwise, we'll go out of our heads and die of thirst. Back to a different point. Isn't it like a dream? Really, though. It's like a dream sometimes, where we're all taking our sweet time to take on our forms, each one of us. And yet from another vantage point, none of us. Well now, where should we go from here? Somewhere or nowhere? And the whirlpool keeps dancing around in the water and the sun keeps waxing hotter and hotter. And what if it turns out I'm that beatnik on the riverbank, out of place and out of time, here but really there? What if I end up walking stride for stride with the Tigris Euphrates? What if I dissolve into viscosity and become a whirlpool myself? What then, I ask you, what then? Thank you again for listening. There's so many things you could be doing with your life. Instead, you came here to listen to me, and I appreciate you all.
That was brilliant. Thank you so much, Matt. Yeah, and actually your ending is perfect because I'm suspecting that when I close down and you go back to your life, that you might be planning another trip back to Evidaris.
Yeah, I can only stay here on Earth another 2 weeks your time. And that's fine. That's fine. I'm usually here 3 to 4 months at a clip, and I'm always ready to go back home by the end. You humans, man, you got it rough. But a lot of that troubles we make ourselves as humans, so I can't be too mad at you.
Well, thank you so much.
And thank you. I can't wait to see you again soon.
You bet. Me too, Matt. Bye.
Bye.